This episode of Super Pulp Science is brought to you by Blood Letters by GMB Comiccon and Ariel Gordon. Blood Letters is an artifact from the future, a jumbled archive of robots, soldiers, dot matrix printouts, ID cards, propaganda posters, photos, maps, and letters. The human detritus offering hints that something has gone horribly wrong. Available where all books are sold.
Attention, citizens! It's time for Super Pulp Science!
This is Super Pulp Science, where we talk about how genre gets made. My name is Lyndon Richenka, your host. Don't let that name fool you. My friends call me Lyndon. I am here with my long-suffering co-host, Justin Curry, known the world over as Chasing Artwork, along with producer extraordinaire Dan Vadeboncoeur. We are joined today by Dr. Jonathan Ball to talk as a group about the last couple shows we've been doing. It feels like we haven't been together in a while, gentlemen.
It does. That was very precisely said. Great job. Because last week we did the video game episode. No, last week was Greg's Kids.
Yes.
Great episode.
It was a very well-spoken episode.
They did a good job. Yeah. Those kids are pretty. We'll chip off the old block there. And then the week before that was the video game one. So we've kind of put this off for a little bit.
Yeah. So we're here today to talk about the Winnipeg Comiccon and how that went. And Justin was away. He recently returned from HalCon in Halifax.
It's true.
How's Winnipeg Comic-Con, gentlemen?
I think it went really well.
Local show. I'm trying to remember it now that I'm sitting there.
It's a bit
feels like a year
Yeah,
ago.
it's later than we usually do our post-mortems.
Our recap.
That show is always like with a lot of traveling conventions, there's some amount of like stress or question marks or, like things could go wrong. And there's none of that with your local show. There's nothing that can fall off the wheels can all fall off, but you're in your hometown show. And so you can fix it. You have access to more inventory, to more display items, to more this, to more that. Like, I think almost every day after the show, I came back to the studio to pick up just a couple more of this or a couple more of that because you can, right? So it's I find it's almost a problem. Everybody asks me when I'm on the road, like, how is the Winnipeg show? And I don't feel I can ever give anybody an honest, clear answer.
Right, it's the local show.
My experience at my local show that I'm doing since 2008 does not help you,
right,
who's never been there at all.
They'll also never get the behemoth table that Chasing Artwork has on the floor. Yeah.
I like the local show because my daughter can help me. So I don't have to do it all myself. I get to, hang out with her. And she actually sells better than I do, frankly. Because everyone wants to talk to a pretty girl at Comic-Con, yeah. But just having the help, without having to maybe pay a bunch extra to haul someone on the road or something, like, for you, it's a bit more viable than it is for me. And then just being able to represent in the hometown is nice,
Yeah.
You feel like, in some ways, it feels a little slower to me, but all of this didn't too bad. It felt a little slower than the previous year to me, but it was fine.
Do you feel like attendance felt up to me compared to last year?
I don't have a good judge of it, but everything was a little slower. I did better, but my average sales were higher and so on, partly because I've got this expensive item at the booth now. But I also had doubled my costs because I got 2 tables this time.
I think our take was actually proportionately lower. We've been saying for a handful of shows this year, we've been down a tiny bit, and I think that was consistent with this show too. Not enough for it to be alarming by any means, but just a bit of a dip from last year.
Yeah, I've been finding across the board, like I talked to a lot of people who do a lot of different shows, and everybody's kind of fighting to stay like even with last year.
Right.
And so a little bit of a dip, but if you're able to match what you did the year before, I consider that a big win.
Yeah.
And we always talk about like, nobody's salty about this because for how many years it just seemed like we were doing better and better and better. And it can't always be like that.
Right.
So I think it's just something, a symptom of any kind of craft sale or conventions. They're going to stagnate for a bit and dip a bit and then go back up. And
totally. Yeah. Up and down years.
Yeah.
Did it feel different to you at all, Dan? You showed up
It did feel, I mean, it's just such a much bigger convention than it used to be. Like when you think back to like the old version and the old convention and that kind of stuff, it just really feels like a completely different convention. And a lot more like this is the mainstream. Like you can tell they're copying like San Diego or New York, those bigger cons. They're bringing that to Winnipeg, that level. And so overall, I'm very impressed with the way it's run. They had like this, you walk in, there's a person handing you maps. They had like a whole table full of like printed things, which were always an issue for some reason.
Yeah, I feel like that's gone away.
That's handy to have, right? If you want to see where everything is. I definitely noticed a big difference between the Artist Alley area and the vendors area. Whereas like, the Artist Alley feels so much more like a con than like a real Comic-Con. Then when you go to the vendors and you've got like Lord of the Rings cutting boards and kitchen utensils and stuff like that. Like
you said the magic words, Dan.
What's that?
The wood cutting.
Well,
that's Justin's trigger word.
Is it really?
Well, okay, here's my problem with, because I know exactly the booths you're talking about. It's people who have access to a special kind of printer. They have a wood engraver or they have some kind of stencil machine. And so they've grabbed every single image off the internet that has Lord of the Rings on it and etched it onto wood, and they show up at conventions. And I feel like this should be like you should get like a mark on you, like an offense, like a strike or something.
Okay.
You're clearly stealing like just images off the internet. And because you put it through a fancy printer, it's allowed. But if you were to just print off those same images on paper, like you'd get kicked out of the show.
Except the poster sellers don't get kicked out of the show.
But you're forgetting that we live in Canada, and in Canada, in copyright law is ensconced a thing called fair dealing. Violations of copyright are allowed if it's fair dealing. And then what is fair dealing, you ask? Nobody knows. I'm not even joking. This is how the copyright law was written on purpose by Stephen Harper to force people to sue one another over borderline cases like this. If, Nintendo doesn't want to sue them against Zelda, then they're setting a precedent that it is allowed, and they are allowing it. So I get it on both sides. I agree with you, though. It's stupid, and it shouldn't be allowed.
I'm just wondering about, like, is there suddenly a need for all this kitchen stuff?
Like, it's definitely, in the last year or two, the wood boards, the wood cutting thing, again, and I think it's access to the printing technology.
Maybe also saw some...
It's like podcast tech.
Yeah, exactly. Cribbage boards, some crib boards there. And so, like, anything else you can think of that's been basically carved or...
Glassware we see.
Yeah, glassware, yeah. Lots of stuff like that.
There's those Legos, those customized Legos now. Some of those must be knockoff ones, yeah.
Yeah, so there's people who have access to a printer, and they're just they're not artists. They're just grabbing images they find that they like, and they're printing them. And that's a large part of the vendors. And then there's retailers who are just ordering inventory from distributors, and they have no idea the origin of these or whatever. And on Sunday evening, there was actually an incident where a friend of mine found out that their art was being sold in the vendors at one of these big poster booths that just orders mass posters from some distributor out of Toronto. And so they just assumed everything was on the up and up, and it turned out there was stolen artwork in the inventory. And so like the organizers were notified about this, but then it's like, how do you do it? Like they didn't print these. They bought the inventory from a distributor who said everything was on the up and up.
Right. Yeah, who's responsible for it in that case?
Right.
The ironic solution to these problems is the blockchain technology. It's true, though. Weirdly, smart contracts would solve all this, but, there's been such a weird backlash. I mean, I get the reasons why the backlash, and I don't really buy the...
Jonathan, you didn't make our listeners turn off the show.
No, but I'm just saying, like, that's the technology that would solve this problem, but nobody in the arts wants to admit that and also engage with it, which is reasonable and fair.
There's something strange in the neighborhood. Who you gonna call?
Like, I know it's a lot of work for the people who run these shows, but there should be during just a little bit. And if you see a booth at your convention that's clearly just selling trinkets and trash and crap, like when they apply next year, like, do they maybe go down the list of people you're going to let in and instead have, we had bakeries from Winnipeg, like setting up booths and selling like handcrafted cookies and stuff. Like there were so many like cool booths, and then other booths where it's clearly just, we bought crap off Alibaba, and now we're going to sell it
Yeah.
as quick as we, like
Yeah.
those booths.
Yeah.
I agree.
I
That's
don't
the
want to
solution.
see them more than 1 year.
Right.
Yeah, and that's the solution, I think, 100%. Yeah, do you need a hard rule? Is it legal? Is it allowable? Sure, but we don't need to have them here also.
Yeah. Curate the show.
Curate the show. Make it more unique and more interesting as a show by doing so. There's less weird, the same crap you see at every other show,
While we're on this topic, I think we should bring up in the Artist Alley, there was one booth that caused quite a kerfuffle. There was a local individual who took AI art and ran it through. It looked like it was almost kind of a print on paper and then 3D built upon. So he was like printing images through a 3D printer. I don't exactly know how it works, but it looked like a piece of a print with a texture to it. Like it had a 3D texture to it. But it was clearly AI art. He was just taking stuff off the internet, and his booth was beside a friend of mine. And so when they saw this getting set up, immediately recognized, like, this is not right. And so went and found exactly where he was grabbing his artwork from, which was like an AI fan art site. But again, because he's running it through enough of a process that it's not just printing off 1-to-1, it falls in this gray area of like, well, he's, it's still artwork, I guess, ?
Right.
He still made a product.
Yeah.
Somehow.
Something that only he's doing.
Yeah.
For now. What do you think, just on the larger scale of it, what do you think all that matters to someone like you who's not doing that?
So I think like where like a lot of us kind of take offense is this guy started doing this. We went on to Instagram and did like a bit of a,
dive.
We dived in. He started doing this a couple months ago. He now has a portfolio bigger than mine or Gregory's, and his table, he was outselling the artists on either side of him because he went from 0 to 120 pieces available overnight. And then most people can't tell the difference. Like
How do you tell the difference?
It's obvious.
It's obvious when you look at it enough. Yeah, like it's pretty easy to catch now. But it's not going to be.
Do you have like an example for the listener so they can understand sort of what you see?
Like it's just got a bit of an off feel to it.
Okay.
It's usually a little busier, like a little more like there's usually more like splatters and specks and stuff going on. Than
I remember
There's
early
distortion.
AI, it was easy to tell because like hands were bad and certain
Still have
lines
some
were
of that,
off
but
and there was
more subtle.
fragmenting.
Yeah, and I like the big thing for me is nobody's been doing this for very long, so it's easy to tell that somebody has like just figured this out recently and shown up with this whole table's worth of copied art. I don't know. This was a blatant example of in Artist Alley that I've seen. It's usually I haven't seen too many others.
So is this solution? So did you guys do anything about that? Is there anybody reporting that person to the con?
So the artist beside them compiled like, here's what he has at his table, here's where he stole it from. It's an AI art site. Here's the image he took. Here's what he had at his table, like just 1-to-1, like showing everything like that. And yeah, I don't think anything was done like during the convention, but I hope he won't be able to be back next year.
And a special note to the listener, increasingly shows when you sign up for a table, the show agreement is that you will not be selling AI generated artwork.
Yeah, that's good. That's in the agreement.
That is starting to
I don't
pop
know
up
if that's
across
a
shows.
disagreement,
Yeah.
but it's becoming common.
Because something that's coming out, so maybe you can tell me if this is happening in your job, Jonathan, at work with the students and students using AI, we have them, it's like a statement, it's like a commitment where they say, when they hand in an assignment, they say, I did not use AI in this assignment. Like we're asking them to commit to that when they hand it in, to tell me the truth.
Yeah. Check
So
out, I am not a
my
robot.
perspective,
Right.
my perspective is an odd and unpopular one.
Great.
And my point of view is, if AI worked, I would use it instantly.
Yeah.
It doesn't work, and I won't use it. There's nothing it can do. And it's particularly true in the creative fields. So if a student wants to use AI, that's fine, but they can't effectively do it because the AI doesn't say anything. I was just going through this with my students. I show them like I feed the prompt for my assignment into the AI. I have it generate an essay, and I walk through the essay and point out how this looks like an essay, but it isn't. If you dig into the substance of what it says, it does not say anything.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like it says something, but there's no substance here. So if I just mark it on a standard rubric, you get high marks for things like grammar, you get high marks for spelling, you get high marks for the formatting, but there's no substance. The argument is circular. The argument has no specificity. It's not often understanding the quotes properly, even when it is not making up quotes. Of course, it makes up quotes. That's the problem. But if it pulls a real quote, it can't analyze the quote. It just looks like it's doing it. So even if I just allow you to use AI, you'll get a bad grade because the essay is garbage.
Yeah.
Is it better than the essay you would have written without AI? Probably not, but it might be. But either way, you're getting a bad grade, whether you use the AI or not. So to me, the tool is useless.
Yeah.
And in creative writing, it's even worse. If you go back to 1984, there was a machine book printed by, it was a book called The Policeman's Beard is Half Constructed. It's by a software program called Ractor. And it is as good, if not better, quality creative writing than anything that ChatGPT can do. The one difference between qualitative difference between the 1984 software program doing poetry and fiction and ChatGPT doing poetry and fiction is the length. ChatGPT can do a longer one. It's qualitatively not better. It's often worse. There's been no advance at all in the ability of these machines to do creative art. Why is that? I don't know, because it's clearly made strides in other areas. But to me, it's an indication that there's just some fundamental way that these things cannot improve. Will it fool some readers? Sure. But so does any hack idiot writer fool some readers into thinking they're good. I don't see it as a problem in that sense, and I don't see it as a benefit in that sense. To me, it's like a net negative currently to have AI utilized.
It's short-term gains. Like it's not something that you're going to be able to rely on long-term to keep doing. And in the meantime, you've lost all this improvement that you could have made actually doing it yourself.
Well, yeah, I 100% agree with that. I think there's a lot of useful, interesting, possible applications for the AI as a tool and so on, but they're not doing it. Like the great value of an AI system of these types would be to dig through multiple fields of research, scientific research in multiple languages and at a speed and in a way that no human can do because they don't know the language, they don't have the time, and start synthesizing the data from these different scientific, studies. Because probably what you can do when you do that kind of big data mining and synthesization is you can probably cure most diseases. We probably have the cure for most diseases, but we don't realize it because the research is so fragmented and distinct. But the AI isn't doing that and arguably can't do that because of this hallucinatory problem that I don't think is going away. So, I've got a lot of weird my objections to it are absolutely, if you separate out any ethical, moral agenda, if you just forget about that, you just forget about should we do X or Y. I think the reality is it does not do these things well. It cannot write it better than me. So what good is it?
You ignorant, disgusting blob!
You're nothing but an unstable short-chain molecule!
You foul, obnoxious moth!
You have a weak electrochemical bond!
I have seen some disgusting crud in my time, but you take the cake!
Everyone had new work at the show. Justin, you had postcards. Talk about how
postcards.
I want to hear about how you got to that.
I used to have postcards.
Right.
I had when I started out, I had 4x6 postcards, and then 8.5x11 prints, and then 12x18 prints. And at a certain point, just too many different sizes, and I wanted to kind of get away and simplify. And so I went to 12x18, and then I started getting into canvases and started bringing canvases around.
You've been climbing the ladder.
Yeah. I think every print artist is always kind of like thinking about trying different formats and different sizes. Everybody I know at one point or other, we've tried to do 24x36 posters, movie size posters.
Okay.
Because everybody wants this, but bigger, right? And so we try to accommodate that. We try to bring the bigger posters. And then when you bring the bigger posters, people don't want the bigger posters anymore. And big posters are so goddamn hard to travel with any
Also
safety.
expensive to print.
They're expensive to print. So I've done offset, like printing large amounts to like bring the unit cost down. But then if they're on a slightly flimsy paper and you fly with them, it's hard to keep those big rolled posters safe. And so almost everybody I know who's been in this industry for a long time doing lots and lots of shows has tried to go into big posters and then stopped doing big posters because everybody says they want big, but they don't want to pay prices for big ones.
Prices and they don't have that much wall space.
No, yeah. And so just in like the last year or two, especially not so much like the normal Comic-Cons, but at anime conventions, the average age of attendance, like younger kids, right?
Yeah.
And younger kids just don't have the buying power that like adults have. And so you almost feel like a little, at like my table, like my prints, $25-$30, like that's a pretty big per unit for teenagers. And so I've been thinking I gotta maybe try small sizes again. And so at the Winnipeg Comic-Con, I printed 5x7 postcards, and the way I set them up was on a rack. So it was like just a rack full of postcards. And the fun thing there that I recommend for stuff like stickers as well and smaller prints is then people get to kind of pick their own order out. And Gregory does this at his table as well with his big prints. He has his portfolios facing the customer so they can pull the prints right out.
It creates a horrible habit for the rest of us.
Yeah.
It does. People like to be able to, like, left to their own devices to look things out. Like, you can hand them the menu and here's everything. But that versus them being able to flip through the portfolio and kind of see everything themselves or pick it out like off a rack, they much prefer that. So yeah, they had like, I did okay with them, but again, I don't think this was quite the show for them.
Right.
And I don't have my entire portfolio available as them yet.
Yeah.
You guys did it as well. What was your?
Yeah, it was good. It's a low investment to start with because it doesn't cost a lot to make postcards. We just did, I think, 7 or 8 different ones, and I think just somewhere between 3 and 5 of every piece of art we had. So whatever, 40 different pieces of paper. And we sold most of it, actually.
Yeah.
Like we sold, it was a fun concept because we printed some of Steven's prints and we printed some of my own prints that I'd never done before. And like Steven's sold all the way through and mine sold almost all the way through. So that was nice. That was nice for me. Anytime someone picked out one of mine from the book, I got to like be proud and turn to Steven and take points. But no, it was a good concept. I think we need more of them. We printed some of them on linen paper, which was really nice.
Which is like
It's like
almost like
textured.
like a wedding invite paper. Like
yeah.
it almost feels like watercolor paper or something.
Yeah, I
Did
did it.
people notice?
I don't think they noticed. No. I noticed. It was really nice because we just did it with just the black and white prints that we had. I thought it gave it a little extra value because I like buying linen prints because it feels really cool. It was a cool concept. I think, like you say, we need to expand and do more and find a different way to present them. Like we had a little like 5x7 print book, and I don't know that was the right way to do it. It was okay, but we sold more by having them like propped up on the table in the little postcard size rather than in the book.
The big trend with at anime artists especially, they're big into they're almost like 5x5 like square prints, and they put them on wooden dish racks that are collapsible so they can pack tons of them into the suitcase. And so the front of the table would just be like 6 dish racks and then just piles and piles of these square prints.
Right. Yeah, that you can pick out.
Yeah.
I was thinking about doing it because I bought that spinner rack.
Yeah.
And when I bought it,
Spinner.
I didn't know if books would fit in it.
Right.
But I know it's designed for postcards. So I was I never ended up printing them, but I maybe should have. but the one I would kind of be curious to know how that plays because the second I bought that rack, I was like, I wonder if it would work for postcards and if you could do postcard prints with like maybe a poem on the other side or some weird thing.
Oh, that's fun.
So anyway, I might try it out in the future.
Well, speaking of picking out your own thing, You had a book with 204 covers sitting on your table for the first time ever.
Yeah.
So how did that go?
I mean, it went pretty much.
What is that book?
So there's just sort of three things that were, I would say, significantly new at the table in the sense you guys are talking about for formats, trying out different sizes and formats and things. So the book you're referring to is the Thistlegrimoire, which is available at strangerfiction.ca. But the Thistlegrimoire is by Gregory Comiccok. It has no human language. It doesn't even have a copyright notice.
Which I
or
didn't
his
think you were
name.
allowed to do. I thought
I can only do it because of it's actually the contract you have with the author requires you to do it. But I have an exception in the contract where he has agreed that I can just put it on a sticker and then apply a sticker to the book, which is, is what we're doing, whether or not we're allowed to do it. But I thought to us that was really important because the whole artistic concept of the book is that it should feel like and look like an alien object from an alien world. Like you just accidentally tumbled out of a dimensional portal or something. And so what's also cool about it, other than just being a weird, interesting, beautiful, grotesque object, is it has, as Lynn says, 204 different covers. So each cover appears roughly 10 times. And so if realistically, like if you buy a copy, you may never see another copy.
What was the reaction when people came up because you guys had a big wide rack with like a whole bunch of them there? Did people assume they were all different books? Did they?
The initial presumption is with that one, because there's so many covers, they kind of were just weirded out.
Right.
So like what you're going for.
They sort of are like, okay, this sort of looks like the same book. Whereas, but some of them thought, yeah, maybe it's different books or weren't sure. They just aren't sure what they're looking at.
Right.
Which I think is great.
Yeah.
Because the whole thing is like, hey, what is this?
Yeah.
What are we looking at?
That's what you guys are
Where I had that
You
issue.
need to show off that many covers then, right? It'd be different if you just had one.
You have to show that many
tables.
because
It takes up a lot of space to display.
But where I did have that issue was I have this Last Breed's graphic novel, which was the big expensive item at my table.
The one with the magnet slip case.
Slip case, it's a hardcover, but it has 3 different alternate covers. So that was really confusing to people because I would be displaying like the 2 covers and then Gregory would have the 3rd cover on the next table. And people kept thinking it was 3 books, like 3 volumes. And I had to keep explaining, no, it's just different cover options. It's the same inside, but you have your choice of covers. So that I found really confused people in a way I didn't expect it to, but I guess it makes sense.
Moving forward, like you want to keep bringing all 3, or would you concentrate on like one cover depending on the show?
It'd be nice to just maybe concentrate on one cover, but the problem I'm having is none of them are outselling the others consistently.
Oh, so there's no clear winner?
Not really.
To go with.
Like, do you have one on display and then when people are interested in it, then you present them like, here are the other 2 covers, like you get to pick?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I don't know. It's because it's kind of split. So it's like, because some people are picking one and some people are picking the other, and then the 3rd one also people are picking. So it's like, because there's not really a winner in a certain sense.
I have a question.
I just don't know what to do.
I have a question. One of them, so there's 3 covers. One of them's done by Gregory. He has it on his table. You have the other 2. You have the retail cover and you have the cover by artist Scott Henderson.
Just because if I'm at a show with Gregory,
right,
why sell his cover?
Right. So my question, though, is that in the world, there are many more copies of the retail cover that are going to exist, correct?
My understanding is yes.
What if you took the other covers and charged more for them?
I feel like it's priced high enough, but it's not a bad idea. Maybe, I haven't thought about it. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, is that what they would normally do in comics?
Yeah, I don't know what.
I don't know. I feel like it's already a $50
DC writer. What would they do at DC?
We'll get to me in a moment.
But it's I mean, I haven't felt that I need to do that because it has. If I was running low on one, I might think about doing that. But right now, I've got kind of evenish numbers of them all, more or less. But I think it's probably would avoid the confusion is if I had just one at the table. But again, I wonder, well, am I losing sales because people don't like this cover or something? I don't know.
Well, it's kind of a neat aspect of the project that it has 3 covers. So it's like a disservice to only present it as one cover.
Who told you to stop guns? Don't he tell you to stop cutting?
What are you guys doing here?
You tell him to stop cutting?
Yes, I told him to stop cutting. What are you doing?
What's it look like we're doing here? Why don't you let us work? We let you work. Hey, take it easy. He's been working overtime. I tell you why we're here. We're here because some diaper bag downtown's being a jerk. I'm making us work on a Friday night. Am I right, Peter? Of course you're right, Raymond. Is he right, Ziggy?
Yo!
But it's huge that there's a high price item at the table. I thought it would be a problem. I
Right.
thought
I
the
think both-
fact
yeah,
that it's
we're
twice
Too. Yeah.
I thought people would balk at the price because it's over twice. It's twice as much as a normal book that I'm selling. And I thought I'd at least get. I had one person since I've started selling it, literally one person who didn't buy it because of the price. Not another person who batted an eye and just like if they were into it, yep, no problem, paid the price. I even offered them a deal like, hey, well, if you bundle it with this, you get a deal. No, not interested. I'll just pay full price. It's like, okay, well, if you that's how you feel about it.
It does feel like a premium book.
It's a huge, I think maybe that's just because it feels so premium. I'm not getting pushback on the price, but it also is a huge boost to the average sale.
Yeah.
I find. On the flip side, we did this this kind of chapbook story by Chadwick Ginther called Witch Night, which is a new book in the shared world. So it's not a full book. It's like a little, I forget how many pages it is, but it's not a book length work. It's just,
I laid out the print. I should know how many.
it's
pages
like
it was.
but it's like
28?
30 to 28, something like
30? Yeah.
it's a single story. It's got some illustrations in there, but it's mostly, Chadwick's story. And we were selling, so it almost looks like a little chapbook of sorts, or like a little tiny zine or something, although it's higher quality than most things. But it's like in that realm, right? And so we're selling it for like the same as a floppy comic, which we sell for 10.
Yeah.
And, I was surprised how well that sort of did as an experiment. It was those two, the really expensive one and the really cheap thing, were the two like highest sellers that I had. And at the same time, ironically, what's funny about it though was the books beside it by Chadwick. So I've got like this little short story by Chadwick, and then I got a whole book by Chadwick. And the short story, costs $10, or the book costs say $25. But I make less money on that chapbook because like, it costs more to make than that book.
There's certain items. Yeah, I think it's important at your table to have that range from like $10 to $50. And
Yeah.
some things, are not.
I wish I had a $200 thing.
Right? And that's why I always recommend to artists like try out, like just do a canvas or two
Giant
just to
canvas,
have at your table. Like even knowing like you'll probably, it might take a couple of shows before you sell it, but in the meantime, that big canvas item is going to sell the print of that like you wouldn't believe.
I sold one once, one
yeah?
big canvas. I sold that.
Was it
the
like
eye
the first
collector.
time you brought it out?
Yeah,
yeah.
but then I sold it unfortunately, and so I didn't.
You want to get another one?
Yeah.
Lyndon,
Great segue. Yeah.
This was your first time having your DC book at a convention.
Yep.
You've had your launch and everything, but
Yep.
what was it like having it at the actual Comiccon?
Well, people wanted to buy the poster.
Yeah.
No,
See, everybody wants to buy a big poster,
Yeah.
but if you actually
But I can't
told them-
sell it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for the dear listener, I have a 24 by 36
standard movie poster.
standard movie poster size of the cover of DC's Satanic Panic, which for the brand new listener, I wrote the lead story in about Zatanna.
The only story about Zatanna.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. And I liked it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was great. It was a lot of fun. I have both positives and negatives.
Oh.
The positives are, did you guys notice all the nice, super cool Zatanna cosplays
Yeah.
that were floating around?
I did not see that, but that's
and
cool.
stopping by the table to buy the Zatanna book.
One of the perks about Winnipeg Comic-Con is it's very close to Halloween, usually on Halloween weekend.
Yeah.
So the cosplay and people dressing up, I think, is higher than usual.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was telling somebody that they were like, they thought it was odd that people would dress up, and I'm like, it's most people who go are dressed up. Like I'm odd that I don't, and so yeah. Anyway,
My wife always hassles me like, "What are you going to be at? What are you going to dress up for the Comic Con?" I'm like, "I'm not dressing up today."
I have that experience where I have like a lot of friends that don't go to Comic-Con, and I'm like, oh, I can get you tickets to Comic-Con, and they're always like, oh, like I don't really want to dress up and go to this. Like only the weirdos go to Comic-Con. I'm like, no, come on, guys. Let's break away from this perception that everyone who goes to Comic-Con dresses up as something.
yeah,
Because that's not necessarily
no,
true.
but it is a lot more than you think.
Yeah. So DC's Satanic Panic. Logistic note. Because of the way comics are printed, I had to place an advance order for the book if I wanted to sell it at my table, I had to place an advanced order of the book from the printer, knowing that the printer is not going to print more copies after this. And so this was my only opportunity to get copies. So
And you get like a discount because you're involved, or is it pretty?
No, I have a long-standing relationship with my local comic book store. So they were gracious enough to sell me copies of the books at the copies they buy them for, the cost that they buy them for. So I bought 300 copies of the book, knowing that that is my total stock of what we're going to have forever.
How many of those are you going to keep forever and ever?
Well, I got a box of comps before that.
Okay.
So I have
That's
like
forever
8
box.
copies or 6 copies that are just going to stay
Not
mine.
move. Yeah.
Including some covers. Like there's a New York Comiccon exclusive cover that wasn't available normally, so I ended up with 2 copies of those, but it's beside the point. I have to now ration how many copies to bring to shows because I don't want to sell out of that book.
So you can't put the poster up.
I can't put the poster up. No one knows that this is my writing credentials. Like there's value to having it just on the table.
Like it's a big ad almost.
Right.
Yeah.
Rather than selling through all of them.
And like leveraging the credit of it,
Right.
in a sense.
Yeah. So my first problem not problem is I brought 25 copies to the show. I sold them all.
Amazing.
And then I had to fight the urge to bring more because
you were at home, you could have.
because I could bring more and I could make more money at the show, but I want the books also. The second problem is that, yes, I sold through them all. That was cool. I don't think that the average con goer recognizes how difficult it is to get a DC writing credit. Like,
Right.
It was a case of someone would walk up, "Oh, Zatanna. Yeah, I wrote it. Oh, cool. Okay, I'm going to buy it." And like, that was it. There was no...
That's not just for that poster, and the books at your table are for like the editor of a different publishing company that might
right.
buy.
Yeah. Like it's not, it was cool to sell through it, but like the average person who's not involved in the comics industry, and I'm not trying to like brag about myself here, but like they don't recognize how rare it is for that to happen. Which was just sort of an interesting note.
It's also less rare at a Comic-Con. Like you're talking to a guy who writes comics. Well, probably he's written for Marvel, DC, because you're in the subset of people who write comics in the publishing industry. So in that group, it's still more rare than people think. But from a perspective of an audience member, it's like, well, of course he writes for Marvel, DC. Who else is there to write for it?
That's right. Yeah, the average person thinks that most people write for professional comic companies.
Yeah, those are the only 2 companies.
Yeah.
Scolari brothers! Friends of yours? I tried them for murder! Gave them the chair!
So at your booth, most everything there is a collaboration between you and Steven. Was it weird having like just your own book at the table to sell between you two?
No, because we've been selling Hero Man for a year already.
Okay, you've got Hero Man, and then I'm like Steven has Prince as well, which you didn't have anything. So I guess it all evens out.
Yeah, the table pitch is that almost everything that we've worked on everything at the table and almost everything together.
Yeah,
which is true because we've got a number of anthologies, right? Sometimes we didn't work together in Dire Beasts. We're just both in the book.
Yeah, Dire Beast did well at the show too.
And Steven has worked on Dirk Dirksen with Jonathan. Yeah. I didn't do the art for.
You're still named on that book.
I lettered the book. Yeah. But so it wasn't our first book where only one of us is involved in it. So it kind of folds in with the rest.
It's a bigger problem for me because I've got books at the table I wrote. I've got books at the table that I collaborated or on, like graphic novels that say I co-wrote. I've got books at the table that I had nothing to do with other than publishing it. I've got books at the table that I wrote, but another publisher put out. So to me, it's like
hard to explain all this to somebody in a quick little sound bite.
Yeah, and they don't understand it even if you do explain it, frankly. But it looks very schizophrenic in the sense that I have Stranger Fiction books at the Stranger Fiction booth, which makes sense. But I also have non-Stranger Fiction books at the Stranger Fiction booth that I wrote. Plus, I have, books at the Stranger Fiction booth that I wrote that are stranger fiction books. Plus I got books that I didn't write. You know what I mean? Like, so it's, I don't know the best way to present it. And I just have given up, I think, at the end of the day, presenting it. That's almost like where the spin wheel, the spinner rack was helping me, was because I was like, because I got a spinner rack with just, I can just shove a bunch of things on there. People can touch it, they can spin it. You know, it's got stuff on it that I might not otherwise bring because it makes the booth look too weird and just fragmented. And then the rest of the table, I can like focus on like this one, and this one.
So could you be like, everything on this table is stranger fiction except this spinner rack, where none of this is stranger fiction, but I made it all.
Not exactly, but I could,
Yeah.
you know, but I just, you know, I just stopped trying to explain it. And then what was nice about the rack though, is I was consistently selling things I didn't think I would sell that I wouldn't have brought. Like I sold a lot of copies of The Politics of Knives. For some reason, that's been selling better of late. I don't know why. I think it's because of the cover.
It's because knives and politics are hot.
Yeah,
right
and
now.
weirdly, the book is about political assassination in a strange roundabout way. So it's kind of picked up the weird steam. It's the book I get the most email about lately. I sold some copies of Why Poetry Sucks, this weird anthology of experimental poetry that I wouldn't have brought otherwise. But I was like, you know, let's shove it on the rack.
Oh, why not? Yeah.
Why not? You know, and just it's nice because it kind of like all the stuff that I might not otherwise expect to sell much of, but maybe, you know, who knows? And I just kind of shove it over there. It gives people something to look at. They can touch it and spin it. And, you know, and I was selling some of it, you know, so it was kind of, I wouldn't say it solved that problem for me of like the fragmentary nature of things. But, you know, I'm just going to have to deal with it. I was thinking for a while of like, I should put a Jonathan Ball poster up and a banner. And Lyndon was helping me like maybe put these banners up. So I did a Stranger Fiction banner finally, which I think helped a lot. And then I was going to do this Jonathan Ball banner where it had like my name and picture. But then when Lyndon mocked it up, it just says Ball, like in giant letters, right? And I was like, I can't stand under that banner.
Yeah.
So I just didn't do it.
Okay. I'm going to go to best part, worst part in a minute here, and then we can talk about Halifax briefly. I assume we're running out of time,
Yeah.
Dan. Cool. While you guys are thinking about it, I wanted to note one of the my favorite improvements on the show this year was how subdued the Ghostbusters theme song was compared to past years.
Somebody commented on the volume from last year. Last year, they were blasting that theme song nonstop, and
Like over the intercom? Or?
No, like a row over
from their booth.
Yeah.
which, you know, we don't have anything bad to say about those guys. They're raising money for like a great charity.
Children's Hospital, yeah. They do great work.
Yeah, but that song on repeat
That's
kind of,
hilarious.
yeah,
It slowly drove Zach Schuster crazy last year. And so this year he was across from Steven and I, and every once in a while we just start singing it, humming it just to rile him up a little bit.
It's funny. I was talking to my friend over at that booth there. I hadn't seen him in a while and chatting about different things. And then a couple of days later, I did my old, I do a thing in Walmart where I pulled random DVDs out of the bin and I pulled Ghostbusters 2.
Heck yeah.
And I didn't actually own that one on DVD, so I bought it. And my friend Chris, who I saw, said, "Hey, must have known that you saw me and Ghostbusters." But I like to explore like the other songs. Is like, I didn't, for that video,
There are other songs.
well, in the second movie, they are. The second movie was like Bobby Brown did the soundtrack, and I know that's not a good look, but it was like the music was pretty good. And I like there's some other songs on that second movie.
the newest movie, I think they just kind of did a remix of the original.
I don't know.
I feel like those Ghostbuster guys could be switching the songs up a little bit. I'm being told there's more songs.
There are more songs
that I didn't know existed.
Yeah, they could explore the wider variety of Ghostbuster songs. Like, what about the TV show theme song?
Oh man,
Right? Well, that was the same as the regular song.
It
maybe.
must have been.
I think it
don't
might have
even
been.
remember.
Yeah.
The cartoon, right?
Yeah.
I grew up on the cartoon, and then I was kind of disappointed in the live action. Like it was it's like too scary.
Egon doesn't have blonde hair. What's going on
this
here?
is so weird. Yeah.
Anyway.
Justin, best part, worst part.
I think my best part was I had an interaction with a young lady who came up to the booth and didn't really look at too much. She just looked at, I have a tall neck from Horizon Zero Dawn is like one of my first prints. And it's this big robot covered in like Reclaimed by Nature, covered in plants and stuff like that. And she just stared at it for a while. She goes, "You know what this looks like? There was this artist who wrote a book called Cassian Tonk. Like, were you inspired by him?" I'm like, "That's me." And it turns out that she went to school in a very small town back from where I'm from. And I went to that school when she was in like grade 6 and did a presentation on how to make graphic novels and how I'm making a living as an illustrator. And this was back in 2014. So it was 11 years ago.
Yeah.
When I went and did this. And the fact that like that stuck enough that she remembered and like without knowing anything, like brought it out with a piece that I just did too. So that was, I think, my best part. Can we do best parts and come back?
Yeah. Because I have something I want to add to that. And I'll just show you, because while we were there, we did pick up one of your prints. My daughter picked up your kind of haunted house, like your horror themed, like, what do you call that one?
I just call it, the horror house or the haunted house. There's
That's
30
horror house for the dear listener.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And so it's one where you like, there's a bunch of monsters and you kind of have to pick and choose, and there's a list. And what I would say to you is like, and you put it in the chasing art, we're big and we're walking around with it. And we're sitting at the food court area. And what I noticed is we're sitting there eating, and then the bag sitting on the table is that people walk by, they would like lean over and see which chasing artwork print we bought. And they were like, which one do you got? Oh, look at that. Because I think people are interested to know which ones people buy, because there's so many
clear bags.
Yeah, it's good. Anyway, let's go. Good part for you.
I mean, I think I've said in the past, my favorite parts of these shows is that Steven and I get to hang out a lot because sort of uninterrupted. You know, he has his family now, and we're always very busy with things. But both of us kind of fell down this during the show, during our conversations at the show, fell down this rabbit hole of old media forms. So we really got talking about like the difference between DVDs and Blu-rays, and how DVDs actually have a longer shelf life than Blu-rays do, because they have it's a thicker disc that the data is stored on. But we ended up going down this iPod rabbit hole, and I shortly after the show ended went out and bought an iPod Classic and have sort of reintegrated it into my life to the point that I damaged it this morning myself, and I've been upset all day about it. But having this old iPod and disconnecting from all the ads coming into my life all the time has been awesome the last couple weeks. So that's a direct result of the Winnipeg Comiccon and Steven and I hanging out together. Jonathan, what was the best part?
Well, my best part of the Winnipeg Comiccon is always, just having my daughter help out, because my daughter's a delight, if anyone who doesn't know her. But putting that aside, I have my number one fan is in Winnipeg. And it's just, some young girl who I always see at the Winnipeg Comic-Con who's like, she gives me like some weird object as a gift. It's like this time she gave me some sort of watch gears or something that she had gotten from somewhere. And then she always, buys something, and then I give her something as well. This is like the new ritual. So I don't remember. She gave me a picture that she drew last Comic-Con that said, it's like this weird picture of something. And it just says like my second favorite writer. Which I thought is so great that I've got it, at the studio here. So it's always a delight to see like a real fan, and I don't have a whole lot of like super hardcore fans. So it's, I call her my number one fan. So she's always a delight that is specifically at the Winnipeg show. She was talking to Gregory. She's going to enter the art. She's is an artist, I guess, herself, and is entering the U of M art school and so on. So, who knows, maybe we'll see some work influenced by me in the future. That'd be kind of cool.
This is what you do with your spare time.
Peter, this is an incredible breakthrough. I mean, what a discovery, a psychoreactive substance.
Worst part. Not just particularly the Winnipeg show, but walking through the vendors, the amount of booths that were just kind of soulless and there to make money and like there's so many vendors out there that like they sell books, like huge amounts of like art books and like these hardcore like tomes of art, and you're not loading up a U-Haul and bringing them to a show unless you like really want to. And the comic book stores that take down like half their inventory
every night,
like load them in and stuff like that, like those people are like really putting in like the time and effort and like the investment. And then in between are just it seems like these people who just saw somewhere like this is a way to make money and did it for that and no other reason, like the passionless vendor booths.
Mm-hmm.
The trinkets and trash, I think that, Jonathan, you call that. There was just a little bit too much of that at the show this year. And I don't think those people are going to last very long. But it was an especially busy, big year for just the floor plan was bigger than usual. There's more booths than usual. But some of those new booths, I wish they were actually cared about the convention and weren't just here because it's a big event with a lot of people and you can make money off.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I meant at the beginning when I said like the event, the Artist Alley felt more like a convention than the other parts, because there were a lot of these major like t-shirts as far as the eye can see, or even the DVD vendors. Like there were a few local guys, but I'm sure there were also a few people who were like from out of town selling their stuff as well. And yeah, I agree. It's like, yeah, this is not really
passion there.
They're just showing up to sell their stuff.
Yeah,
it's just another place.
There was a booth. Was it San Diego, Justin, this year? Someone's comic booth got robbed.
At San Diego.
That was at San Diego? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, someone who didn't tear down their booth properly, I guess, before they...
Well, they had they had tarped it off.
Yeah.
And I think people had like scouted them out and came in early and like just ripped down the tarp that was kind of blocking it off and just grabbed and ran and like hundreds of thousands.
My philosophy is if you just leave everything completely as you had it, everyone thinks it's so easy to steal.
Yeah. No, it's after ours.
But it's also it's so easiest to steal. People in their heads are like, well, it can't be worth anything.
Right.
Yeah.
Once you tarp it off or something, to me, it's like, oh, what's behind that tarp? You know?
Yeah.
I notice a lot more lightsaber vendors than ever before. Usually there's only like one booth selling those things, of really nice lightsabers. There's like 3 or 4 selling some really nice, expensive lightsabers. That seems to be a popular product.
Well, hopefully there'll be fewer Funkos in the future.
There was a lot of Funkos.
We'll get into that another time.
They are trying to get rid of those Funkos so bad.
Worst part of the show for me was actually my fault. It's a local show, which means the benefit is that at the end of every day, you get to go home and sleep in your own bed. Mm-hmm. And the downside of that for me that I fell into this year was I did less socializing than I would normally do, say at an away show where we all normally go out for dinner and then we hang out for a bit, then we crash and we get up and we go to the show again the next day. There's been so much going on lately in my outside of comics life that the sheer exhaustion of that caught up to me during the show weekend, and I just wanted to go home and sleep when I could sleep and not and I really missed out on the chance to do some socializing with people who were in for the show that I like, and friends of the studio that were in town. And I'll have to make up for that at future travel shows, I guess.
It's always a debate you're having with yourself at every one of these conventions.
But especially a local show.
Yeah. But it's even more exhausting because, well, like I know for you, you were hosting as well. And so you're doing more than just setting up and doing the show. You're kind of doing you're hosting and doing all these other things as well. Mm-hmm. So I find the local show more exhausting than some travel shows.
Yeah, for that reason. So I fell off on the socializing and I felt bad about it, but a necessary evil, as Gregory, our absent host, would often say. John and him
were making fun of you guys, not just you.
You do that. You do that regardless.
Well, we're old men and we're going out till fucking 1 a.m. Why can't you?
Yeah, right.
We're tired too. We're more tired.
Yeah. Okay. What was your worst part of the show?
For me, the worst part was it's similar to yours in the sense that it just was things beyond my control that were happening at the same time. So I don't know if it's fair to call it the worst part because it's sort of outside the show. But at the show, the worst part is it's not necessarily 100% bad thing, but the problem I'm having lately is I've got too much stuff. I've got to have 2 tables. And so it's cool and great, but it also it's doubles my expense. It cuts my margin, and so the worst part related to that was I didn't have my own new Draxus book out that I wanted to have out. A lot of reasons I had to delay that book, which are fine, and in the end it'll be good. But it was really a bummer that I didn't have that book.
Yeah, you had 3 new things you went over.
But it feels like I didn't have anything.
Right. Yeah.
Does that make sense? So it's like a psychological thing more than a reality, but it felt like I didn't have anything new. Even though I had all this new stuff and this big, new graphic novel with a quote from Scott Snyder in hardcover, it just didn't feel like I had anything because I didn't have that one thing that I wanted that I have the highest margin on.
Right. All right. Well, gentlemen, I'm going to assume we don't have time today to talk about Halifax, maybe we should save it to talk about Halifax and
Brock
at the same
Halifax
time?
was great. I don't have anything bad to say about Halifax.
Okay.
It was a great run show. I had a great time. It's a small floor plan, but a big attendance. I highly recommend it.
no pallet.
No pallet, but I shipped everything ahead because I have friends there.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't have anything crazy to say about Halifax other than I highly recommend it, but there's a good chance you're not going to get in because it's very hard to get into.
It seems really popular. A
It's
lot of people
super popular.
speak very highly of
There's
the
a
show.
reason for that. So apply, but yeah, set your expectations.
Go ahead.
I was just saying, is it an independent show? Like,
Yes,
it's not
yes.
like a corporate show, and
Not
it's
a
like,
corporate show.
Okay.
Yeah, very well run. The volunteers, the people running it, amazing job. I can't say enough great things about the people who run it. Yeah,
How expensive are accommodations there?
not bad.
Not bad?
Not bad.
Okay.
We splurged a bit.
Sure.
My son and girlfriend came, and so we stayed at the hotel attached to the convention center. So it was a bit more expensive than other places we could have stayed, but it was amazing because they got to visit the floor multiple times a day because it was
right there.
barely had to walk outside. You just walked across the street and they were there.
It's expensive to get to the Maritimes, but it's cheap once you're there.
Yeah. So highly recommend it. The end.
Okay. That's the talk? All right.
Yeah.
All right. I was going to package it up with Gregory's Punk Rock Flea Market weekend because that just happened and he'll want to talk about that. What does he normally do now? He sums up the themes of the show. We
tries
talked
to.
about the Winnipeg Comiccon. We diverged into AI for a while. We came back to talk about how great the our last big show of the season was.
Do things that make you feel fulfilled. Don't just chase those dollars.
That's a good chase artwork, not dollars.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. That's
like that.
That's the theme.
Wait till you start having AI fans, Justin.
Well, this has been Super Pulp Science. I'm your host, Lyndon Ruchenka, joined today by Justin Curry, Jonathan Ball, and Dan Vadeboncoeur. And we are encouraging you all to join the fight and make comics.